Today is the first time I'm sharing one of the toughest situations that I ever faced during my time in consulting, and I hope that this situation is rich of lessons for you on what you can do to avoid these things in the future. These principles all tie together into arguably the most important mindset that you need to adopt if you want to succeed in any corporate or industry role, and this is that perception is reality. So welcome to another coffee break here on my channel From Learning. My name is Heinrich, I'm a former McKinsey consultant, and on this channel I want to help you to succeed in the first years of your career. The situation I will now talk about happened about 1 year into my consulting career. I was a young consultant, I was about 24 years old, and I got staffed on a new project. It was a rather big team, project lead with I believe 4 additional consultants that this project team was managing. The project was already going on for quite some time, and in the first week I got this feeling that many clients in the organization, especially in the division that I was supposed to cover, that these clients were rather hostile towards us as a consulting firm and by extension also towards me. And with 1 year of tenure, you are expected to already be somewhat independent, to independently lead certain work packages of the project, to independently develop ideas, structure parts of the projects together with your client counterparts. This was exactly the situation that I was in. And in the very first weeks of this project, different things went south. And let me just share a few of these instances to give you a better feel of what was going on. So with one of the work parts I was supposed to lead, I suggested to do a kickoff meeting together with the client counterpart, the project lead on the client side who was leading this. So I helped this client to put together some project management around the initiatives that we wanted to drive, helped the client to put together a document for this kickoff meeting, put together some content based on some research to present this then to the team. But quickly I got the impression that the client was not too eager to work with me. He was rather defensive and gave me the impression that he wanted to do all of this rather alone, without my help. Then the kickoff meeting happened. There was the client project lead, about 8-9 other clients in the room, and me as well. Unfortunately, I was alone. No one else from my team was able to join this very meeting. Again, I was a young consultant. And then what happened is that during this meeting, the client project lead was leading it. I was rather quiet, didn't contribute too much in the meeting, also because it wasn't a topic that I was already very familiar with beyond what I already contributed in the initial preparation of the document. And what then happened afterwards was that the client project lead complained about me to my team, to my internal consulting project lead, and also to the partner who was responsible for this engagement, saying that I'm not adding enough value, that my contributions were not helpful, that I didn't do much to prepare all of this and to guide this in the right direction. First situation. Second situation that I faced in these very same weeks early in the project. There was a second work stream, a second work package that I was supposed to lead as a young consultant, and this was supposed to happen in collaboration with another client project lead. But the problem was that this client was not located close to us, but rather somewhere else. The client actually lived on another continent, and that was a time far before COVID, so video calls weren't really a thing. It all happened via telephone conferences. So we tried to schedule some meetings with this person. This person canceled meetings, was on vacation, was ill. We did manage to talk to this person a few times, but here similar situation. The person didn't seem to be too eager to talk to us, to set something up with us, to get going on this initiative. And then after a few weeks, what happened? Well, we didn't really get far with this client to kick this initiative off that we hope to work on together with this client. And then the business unit head of this division that I was supposed to cover as associate got kind of unhappy, right? Didn't see the progress, didn't really understand why that was the case, what was going on. The framing wasn't really clear, right? The client project lead who pushed us back was kind of politically smart, putting the blame on us, or specifically on me, that I didn't already advance the whole initiative enough, that I didn't already prepare all types of things. Of course, from my perspective, that was very difficult without the collaboration with this very person. And this was then the second instance where a client complained about me towards the project lead, towards the partner. Next instance happening in the very same few first weeks of that project. We were planning to do a few analyses on this business unit, and I was meeting one of the finance leads of this business unit to collect some data that we needed for these analyses. So this is really standard procedure. This is more or less what happens on every single project. You have some plans, some things you want to do, you need data for it. So you meet with some controlling, some finance people in the organization to collect what you need. And I went there actually well prepared, I'd say, probably better prepared than for many other of these meetings that I had in the past. I had an agenda, I had a formal data request, I was sitting together with this finance person in the office discussing all the points. And here again, similar situation. I sense from the start, this person did not want to help me. This person had no interest at all in providing me with any information about the business. And so I waited. After a few days or a week, nothing came. The person sent me a few bits and pieces, but not really what I was looking for. And then actually I heard that this person again complained about me internally in the organization, saying that I was asking random questions. I came completely unprepared to the meeting, which now even with some distance, some time distance in between, that was just completely wrong. Just some type of political game that made me or our consulting company look bad. And again, same picture, complaints to the project lead, to my internal consulting project lead, complaints to our consulting partner. And I was always the culprit of all of this. At least this was the framing that all these people adopted. Now, what added to all of this was that on other parts of the project, there were some issues as well. The project lead was quite under pressure as well because there were some other fires that the person tried to put out in parallel. And this led to me being very independent in all of these things. I was alone in most meetings with all of these clients. So there also wasn't another pair of eyes who could have supported me also in the internal discussions that followed after all of this. Now, all of this happened 10 years ago. Now I can look at it with some distance. But in the very situation, this felt crushing. I was under huge also psychological pressure. I couldn't really sleep. I remember how depressed I was on the weekends at home, that on Monday morning I needed to board the plane again, fly to the client location again, and to expose myself to this whole situation over and over again, week after week. And what was so tough is that you not only got this pressure from the clients, which is probably a rather common situation that you have in consulting, but that I got this pressure also from the team. So over time, I really got alienated from the team. The project lead was not really happy with me. Also, that person tried to kind of put the blame on me, right? Which is surely also not good leadership on the project lead side. The partner was very unhappy with me. I felt how, at least in my perception, I then often and increasingly got unfairly treated in team meetings where I presented something, and at least to me it often felt like people were just trying to look for things that I did wrong just to frame me more in the direction of me not delivering, not doing my job well, to make this consistent with everything that the clients were saying in the first weeks of this very project. So let's now talk about the lessons. What did I learn from all of this? And frankly, it did take me some time to really process it, to really understand the lessons that all of this had for me. And I hope that these lessons are helpful for you as well in your careers if you are facing similar situations like this as well. And it indeed comes all down to the principle: perception is reality. Perception is reality. And what this means is that in the end of the day, how you see the world, your reality, is more or less irrelevant. Of course, I can complain all time how it was not my fault that I wasn't really able to participate in this kickoff meeting. The project lead didn't want my help, right? The project lead didn't even let me contribute to it. Of course, I can complain about how it wasn't my fault that I wasn't able to kick off this second initiative, second work stream with this client that is living on another continent because the client just was not accessible to me at all. Of course, I can complain about that it wasn't my fault with the finance professional that this didn't work out. I was prepared. I presented a clear data request, but in the end of the day, what sticked is that the clients and also my team got the perception that I wasn't doing my job well. Probably on the client side, this was more some type of political game that they were playing, but especially then internally in my consulting firm, this was the perception that was created in the team. And of course, this was not helpful for me, for my career, for my performance evaluation of the project. Thankfully, the next project I got staffed on went really well for me, so it didn't really hurt my career in the long term. But surely I would have hoped for a different outcome, and if alone for the pressure and my own very personal psychological health. Now, before we jump into the specific lessons of this project that I just described to you, let's acknowledge that there's one more generic thing that you always need to look out for, and this is that you need to make sure that the documents that you create are always top-notch, are clean, are on point, because if you make errors here, this is something where then other people can go after you, can attack you. And this is why I prepared for you a free download of a document checklist, a checklist that I created during my time in consulting to help me to make sure that the written documents I create meet highest professional standards. You will find a link to this free checklist in the video description. Feel free to check that one out. Trust this will be very helpful to you. So now let's talk about the specific project I just described to you, and there are 4 main lessons I want to share with you. The first lesson is that you need to always put yourself into the driver's seat of the work that you're leading. You cannot let it happen that you suddenly become reactive and let other people dictate the pace or the things that are happening in your area of responsibility. And here specifically for this kick-off meeting I tried to prepare together with this client project lead, I more or less accepted everything that this person told me. This person didn't want my help? Okay, then we're not doing this, right? This person didn't want this section that I prepared in the document? Okay, then this is not happening. This person didn't want me to give me a role in this meeting? Okay, then I won't have a role, I will just sit there and probably won't contribute much. So this is a misguided mindset. Even if you're working in professional services, this is not how you should behave, for the very reason that this can lead to bad situations. Exactly the type of situation I then found myself in. And actually remember that I talked to another more experienced associate on the team before this meeting, and I described to that person the situation, what was going on, that I didn't really have a role in this meeting, and that associate even warned me, right? Heinrich, be careful here, this doesn't sound right. Think about how you want to approach this. But I just brushed it off, didn't really understood what this person meant. Until then later, I very much understood what this person was talking about. So what could I have done? Well, I could have insisted on having a role in the meeting. I could have insisted on managing a certain part of it, presenting maybe a certain part of it, and then if the person really absolutely refused to have me had any part in it at all, I could potentially have refused to sit in this meeting, to participate in preparing this meeting, because apparently there was no help needed or no help wanted. And then maybe the situation would have escalated a bit, but then at least I would have been able to point towards that person not letting me be part of the project and not accepting the help. And then the discussion would have been a different one compared to me just being reactive and just waiting for the criticism of what was coming out of this. Put yourself into the driver's seat of your work. If you can see that a certain meeting is not setting you up for success, that something is going wrong, then cancel the meeting or reschedule it. If you're seeing that something is not set up the right way, then change it. Don't just go with the flow and react to what other people are doing. Be proactive. You are the one who should set the agenda, who should set the pace, at least for the part of the work that you are responsible for. Second lesson, change the focus of the project. Actually, what happened is that after a few months into this project, the project lead internally on our side, the consulting project lead, changed, and a new project lead was stepping in. And then confronted with all this mess, what this project lead actually did is, within 1 or 2 weeks, the project lead cancelled several of the initiatives we were working on. The project lead just went to the client and said, hey, this is not working out. We don't feel like we can really have the impact we want to have due to all these reasons. And then the project lead had a few suggestions what to do instead, what other initiatives might be where we would be more set up for success. And I was very scared of this. I was very unsure how this would play out. But then the client just said, yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's do exactly this. This is a great idea. And then from one day to the other, everything was different, right? We worked on new topics with other client counterparts. The relationships improved substantially from there. Everything was much better just due to this change. And actually, this is a pattern that I observed over and over again, also with working with other project leads on future projects. And this is that the very good project project leads, they didn't even let it come that far, right? They didn't even let it come that far that they would find themselves or the team in a dead end where they are not set up for success, where they're just doomed to fail. Good project leads anticipate this, that maybe a certain road or certain initiatives or certain parts of the projects, that it's impossible to make them successful, and then are able to align with all the relevant stakeholders, that the focus maybe shifts to something different, to another initiative, another topic, where then the chances of success are much more pronounced. Next important lesson is that you always create clear paper trails of what is going on in your project. So whenever you're faced with a sensitive situation, maybe a difficult person that you're interacting with, or just in general, if in doubt, because you never know what will happen in the future, make sure that all important decisions, all important things that you did are well documented, that there is something in writing to prove what actually happened, what you actually did. And here, add the example of this client meeting with the finance professional. Yes, I did prepare an agenda. Yes, I did prepare a clear and concise data request. But what I didn't do is that I did never send this agenda or this data request to the client in writing, for instance, per email. If I would have been able to prove that it's not correct that I was unprepared, it's not correct that I was just asking random questions, but there was a clear data request behind all of this and so on, probably this would at least helped me in all the discussions and all the outfall that was coming from this very instance. Every decision that you take, every important meeting, every document that you create, make sure to document it indeed, create a paper trail that you can point to in case of crisis. Next lesson is to make sure to escalate situations at the right time. And this is always a thin line because, of course, you don't want to be too confrontational. You don't want to make other colleagues or clients look bad in front of their leadership. So often you tend towards playing it nice. You tend towards trying to just figure something out with people on a relationship level. But the issue here is that usually the person or the side that escalates something first, that complains about something first, has the initiative and has therefore an advantage. Because if someone complains about you, but during all the time that passed, the last days, the last weeks, you never said anything to anyone about what was going wrong, then suddenly you will sound very defensive. If then confronted with these complaints, then you are starting to point fingers, no, it's not you, it's about them, and so on. So think very hard and smart about when is the right time to escalate. I know this is easier said than done, but definitely try to avoid finding yourself in situations where you are put against the wall, where you are in the defense and someone else has the initiative on you, because the results, however this was caused, are not the way they're supposed to be like. Now, to maintain confidentiality, I did change a few minor details in the story, but overall, this is exactly what happened. This was the situation I was faced with, and I hope these lessons are helpful for you as well, because I do think that situations like this can happen over and over again, not only if you work in consulting, but also if you work in every other industry role out there. If you have any other tips on situations like this, I would love to read your comments or your thoughts on the situations that I described to you in the comment section. Trust, we all can only benefit from that. If there's any value you took away from this video, please destroy the like button and subscribe to stay up to date on all my content. Big thanks to all the members of the channel for supporting me here. My name is Heinrich, I'm the creator of From Learning. Make sure to grab this free document checklist, link in the video description. See you again soon. All the best to you and bye.